Hey guys, Ebendon. This is episode 2. I don't know why the settings was up. But this one, we're actually going to get started creating a cult. So, huzzah. Alright. I'm going to put the speed on fast forward from now on, because it's just more comfortable to play that way. You just pause when you need to. Okay, so we've got 3 of each stat now, which is good. I got lucky and I got Alden's job. I don't want you to think that that's a major deal on how the game's going to run. It does make my getting funds easier, but getting funds as a level 2 is not that difficult. And I'll end up killing my boss anyway, again, just so that I can demonstrate to you how to do it. So, but to move forward with the main story now, we have this bequest that we've had this whole time, right? And you can study it with reason or passion. Now, it doesn't matter a ton what you study it with, but it does change the first lore you get. So I'm going to study with reason. If you study with reason, you get lantern lore. And if you study with passion, you get forge lore. It also changes your initial temptation, right? Which is important, but not very. So this is an enlightenment victory, which is the victory we're going to pursue. Okay? It occurred to me that I hold the key to wisdom. Basically, this is the temptation is getting knowledge for knowledge's sake, right? The truth, knowing all things. That's what the Watchman's all about. But if you didn't want that one, it's very easy to change in the beginning of the game. So if you did not want to pursue knowledge, you can just dream on your dedicate or your temptation, and you can put in well, this is for the priest DLC. This is to get some of the weirder ones, like the moth ones, but we won't go into that. We're going to stick with the basics for now. Basically, if you put passion in there, you could change your temptation to power, and if you put health in there, you could change it to sensation. And it works the same way. So if you had power, if you put reason in there, it would go to enlightenment. If you put health in there, it would go to sensation. So those are like the 3 base game ascensions, right? Power, lantern, so a forged lantern, and grail. We're going to go ahead and pursue lantern. Okay, now this thing that we got is our first lore. Okay, this means lore right here. This little head with a star in it. Okay, lore is basically occult knowledge. So you know some secrets now. They have what's called an aspect, which is lantern in this case. And there's a level of the aspect, which is 2, which is very low. The lores are all in 2, so 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, and 14 for lore. So a very low level lantern lore, but it is lore, and we need lore for a lot of different things. We also got these notes. All right, one of these notes is a potential collaborator, so somebody who might have like-minded thoughts to me. And this one is directions to a weird bookstore. So we're going to go ahead and read those real quick. So let's get directions to Moreland's shop. Now, you notice I'm not going to put anything in here. That's just so I can maintain the same job, or the same temptation that I have, because I have no desire to change my temptation right now. Okay, so now I have Moreland's shop. I also unlocked the explore verb, and I got an occult scrap, which is also lore. This is Secret History's lore, which works a little differently than the other lores. Not too much, though. The explore verb, I can now do a bunch of different things with that. So the main thing is that I can go to the bookshop and I can buy a random book, which we'll do right now. So this costs money, right? So you have to pay for books, obviously. You go to the shop, you give them money, and you just get a random book. Seems kind of an odd way to do things, right? I'm also going to go ahead and read these notes on a potential collaborator. All right, and I need to go back to work. So now I'm going to get sick here in a second, right? So now, since I have a good job now, I mean, I don't have to worry so much about the vitality, right? I can just deal with this with funds, because I make 3 funds every 60 seconds now. So as long as I'm paying attention, my money's going to be going up, not down for the most part. Now, I got my first book from Morelands, right? The Orchid Transfigurations, Volume 1. Now, if you look in here, right, it's a text. It's a book. This means that I could sell it if I wanted to, and this means that it's written in Latin. So I don't know Latin, right? So if I try to study this, it's going to be like, do you even Latin, bro? And I'm like, no. And it's going to be like, all right, well, you can't freaking read it then, dum-dum. So I'm going to put that off to the side for now. You don't know what's in this book, but the color of the book will kind of give you a clue as to what sort of stuff is in there. Every aspect has its own kind of color. So the lantern is this yellow. Secret Histories is this bright pink. But we'll get into that more as I uncover more and more lore. I believe I didn't cover Mystique. I did that in the last video, or the previous attempt to record these videos. So Mystique, that I got for talking about a potential collaborator. Mystique is, oh no, I did get some from painting. Mystique is, it will attract the hunters. Yeah, I already have this guy, so we've already talked about them. Okay, sorry if I'm rambling too much, guys. I'm trying to keep this as concise as possible. But it's a complicated game, so. Reason back, some restlessness. Let's see here. So, I have finished talking, and I got Clovette, an acquaintance. So this is the first other human being besides the detective that I've run into, right? So an acquaintance is basically somebody who could become a follower, right? They're not a follower yet. They could be. Now, you can't recruit followers until you have a cult. And the way you start your cult is you talk to somebody that you might think could be a follower. So you speak with her, right? And then you get this found a mystical organization, right? Which you get, this is going to take 10 seconds to run, and then it's going to give you a notoriety. Now this is a big deal. Notoriety is like Mystique, but the really bad version. So Mystique is like rumors about you doing stuff. Notoriety is hard evidence, right? If the hunters see notoriety, they might get evidence against you. Okay, so you got to be careful about notoriety. And you'll notice my next season is also the hunters are going to be looking for me, so they're going to find that notoriety. So we'll cover that. But this is the founding your cult little verb. This only comes up when you're founding the cult. So you need to choose a doctrine. Now you can choose any aspect of lore. So I could choose Secret Histories if I wanted to, or I could choose Lantern at this point. And if I had other ones, I could choose those. Now, the type of cult you form does not in any way limit the victory you could achieve. Except for the knock one, but that's a special DLC one anyway. So what it does do is it affects the way that you upgrade your people within your cult. So if you have a Lantern cult, you use Lantern lore to upgrade the people in the cult. And Lantern aspected cult members can get higher rank. So basically your cultists have 2 aspect. If they get upgraded, they have 5 aspect. If they get upgraded again, they have 10 aspect. But they can only do that if they're the same type of cult as what you're doing. Sorry, all the moving back and forth. My cats are being stupid. So we're going to go ahead and form a Lantern cult because it's one of the easiest ones to do. And we're going to pursue an Enlightenment victory, so it kind of makes sense to have high aspected Lantern people if you're going to do a Lantern cult. But you don't have to. Like I said, you could pick any one of them. Some are more useful than others. Like Winter's probably the least useful one. But they all have their uses. Okay, so hang on a second. Scoop! Leave her alone. All right, hang on 1 second. Sorry, I gotta pause the recording. Alright, sorry about that. A professional YouTuber, I am not. I'm working on it, people. Okay, so. Let's see, what do we got going on here? So now I need to give of myself. Now, this depends on which type of aspect you're doing, but it will tell you. So for a lantern cult, you need to give of your reason. Now, this isn't permanent. It just exhausts it, so you get it back. I thought it was permanent the first time I did this. I was like, oh, man. There are ways to permanently lose traits in this game, but this is not one of them. Okay, first recruit. So now I need a person, right? Basically, I need an acquaintance. So Clovette, I have, is my first cultist. Okay, our rise begins. Excellent. So now I have founded a cult. My cult is the Mirror of Glory, right? All cults are a society dedicated to understanding the light that leaks from a fiercer place. So, I have a cult. Clovette is now a believer. Note that means she now has an aspect. So her aspect is heart. So the cultist aspect is not necessarily aligned with the aspect of the cult itself. So they could be in the lantern cult, but be a heart aspected person, like this one is, right? And you'll also notice that she's yellow, but she's heart. The colors do correspond to different aspects, but for some reason, I don't know why, for the followers, they don't. So the followers' colors seem random. There's probably some sort of pattern I haven't noticed to them, but I don't know what it is, obviously. So now I have one follower, and she's level 2 heart aspect believer. So, hooray! I also have a temporary headquarters, which is useful for a few things, but we'll get into that later. Okay, so I have a cult. Great. What do I do with it, right? So, the smart way to do the beginning of the game is to start going through the Mansis, gather some occult scraps to do vaults and things of that nature, and get more followers. Getting followers is really important. You need people with different aspects to be able to solve different problems. So, the easiest way to get followers is to talk about lore, right? So if I start talking about weird secrets, basically, talking publicly about visible arts will attract attention. Perhaps that is what I want. This is the easiest way to get followers, okay? It also generates mystique. Okay, but mystique's not really that big of a deal, to be honest. So, okay. You can also send Clovette out into the city. So the way you can use the explore verb without like going to a specific place is you can send a follower to go explore the city. You can also use your health to go explore the city yourself, but that exhausts your health, whereas sending a follower doesn't. So I usually just send followers. Okay, so we're going to send some people out to go do stuff. Okay, so she found a place called the Assidious Club, or Ictesius Club, sorry. Now, I loved that word, so I had to look it up a long time ago. It's a Ictesiast. And an Ictesiast is a stripper, but it's like a really sophisticated, like 1920s or if I remember right, or 30s term for a stripper that never caught on when they were trying to like make it be real sophisticated. So it's basically a strip club, but I love that name, Ictesiast. So an Ictesiast is a stripper. Fun fact. But so I'm gonna send her out to go find some more stuff. So this is a hireling. You can hire people temporarily to be in your crew. You have to pay them every 120 seconds, but they can be really useful, especially early on. So this one has an aspect of Lantern 5 and Moth 3, which can be really useful. I'm also going to study, or I'm sorry, I'm going to have to explore that scrap. So there's so many things in this game that I just know that I'm not sure if people who haven't played it very much have figured out yet. So, okay, so yeah, notice when she's fighting an acquaintance, she steals one of your passion temporarily. So this is to get followers. You'll have to have some passion available. There's also what's called... what's the term for it? Patrons. Patrons require reason. So, and they're not followers. They're basically like rich people or people who are in the know somehow in the occult world that can kind of help you out. And we'll cover that once we run into one. So you can't control finding patrons. You just have to keep looking for people. So the people you find are entirely random, which can take up a very big chunk at the beginning of the game, trying to get enough different cultists to be able to successfully run vaults. And speaking of vaults, the way you find vaults is you explore these occult or the secret histories lore, right? So this is an aspect 2 secret histories lore, right? So it's the lowest level of secret histories lore, which means we're going to find the lowest level of vault. Now there's a bunch of different vaults on each level, like 2 through 14. So now you notice that I've had this bleak thoughts over here for a while, and I haven't done anything about it. I probably ought to. So I'm going to go ahead and dream, get some opium. I'm also going to go to work, so I get some contentment to get rid of that. This right here is just a random event. These things happen sometimes. Hey, look, restlessness. So it's actually a good thing I got that contentment, because this contentment is going to get taken there, and then this restlessness was eventually going to turn into dread. So. Okay. So she's a level 2. So I got a couple of vitality. You know what I might do, since and this is something you'll want to do, like sometimes you'll see opportunities for things come up, right? For some reason I have a couple of vitalities right now, right? Which is kind of nice. And I have a good amount of money, so I'm not like on the brink of death or anything. So I'm actually going to go ahead and actually I have 61.1 seconds. I'm going to go ahead and study health real quick. I'm going to push this to the very limit, and we're going to get ourselves another health upgrade while we're doing everything else. Free contentment. So I'm actually going to, I'll show you what happens when you let your job lapse, because I want to get this health upgraded again. I'm actually going to let my job to run out. Let's get rid of this dread real quick. Okay, so I got that vitality. See, I still have 1.1 seconds left. It doesn't matter how much is left; it's still the same, right? So we're actually going to get our 4th vitality, just because an opportunity kind of presented itself, and vitality is by far the easiest one to get. We'll go ahead and keep trying to get more cult members. So you notice I just lost my job, right? Difficulty at work, demotion, right? So that sucks. But getting your job back is not that hard. It really isn't. So, you'll actually lose your job fairly frequently in this game, because you have to use your work verb or things other than your job sometimes, like rituals and things like that. So, as long as you have funds in the bank, I wouldn't worry too tremendously about losing your job. But I mean, if it's super early in the game and you're broke as hell, then it matters a lot. But it matters a lot less as time goes on, as long as you're maintaining a decent amount of funds. Okay, so this is going to get me another acquaintance. Now, you notice I got an acquaintance earlier. I didn't address it. We'll talk about that here in a minute. One nice thing about this game is that, like, there are things you have to pay attention to immediately, like sickness, dread, things like that. But the other stuff you can do at your own pace, right? So as long as you're maintaining, like, I have fun, I have food, I have money, I'm not sick, I'm not going to die to dread. You can move through the rest of the game at a leisurely pace. You don't have to be going ham all the time. So, and it's probably the best way to do it, because if you get too caught up in all the individual things you could be doing at once, it can be a little overwhelming, especially early in the game. Like, for instance, I could be going to the bookshop and doing a bunch of other things all in parallel right now if I was being as efficient as possible, but you don't need to be. Right? You don't have to be massively efficient. In fact, sometimes it's to your detriment, because if all your verbs are being taken up all the time, sometimes you absolutely need access to one of those verbs because you missed something, and if you don't have access to it, then you might die. Like, for instance, you know, if your last sickness, you had no health left, you really need to get some health back, but if all your dream verbs are all being used up, or your dream verbs being used up, and you have no way to repair your health, then you might be screwed. So, okay, so I got a Course of the Heart. This is going to give me a free vitality, which is nice because I'm trying to upgrade my vitality. Let's go ahead and upgrade that. We'll use extra vitality over here just to fix my sickness. So let's go ahead and get our job back. So I've got these 2 vitality lesson learned. I only need 1 more, which I'm getting right now, so I can get my job back. The way you get your job back is you beg for it. So you use passion with your job. Say, please give me my job back. I'm sorry. Then I'm a slacker. And they will always give you your job back, which I think is very unrealistic, but, you know, they needed something. They needed a mechanic, I get it. Fix my sickness. So now I have my job back, right? But you start at the bottom of the totem pole again, so you have to go through all of the steps to upgrade. So now I actually need 2 passion, or 2 reason to upgrade to the level I'm at now. So now I have these 3 vitality lesson learned, right? So we're going to upgrade this again. So right now, I'm as strong as a smith or a soldier, right? I have a hardened physique. But after this, I will have an even better physique. Alright, let's go get some more cultists. Right, so now, now you wouldn't normally go from level 1 to level 3 in the job, except that Alden has retired, right? So now I'm back to my good old job where I get 3 funds per 60 seconds, and things are grand. Alright, so now I've exercised, and now I have 4 health cards, right? And I have a steely physique. There are many things that I could crush with my fists. Okay, now to get the final upgrade, which is the 4th upgrade of the seal card, right? So you have 5 health. You actually need more than just 4 lessons learned. And I'll show you once we get there. So I won't be upgrading beyond 4 for quite some time. Alright, now let's go get some more books. Because I need to learn Latin. And you just need a lot of books, right? You need a lot of things going on. Ooh, a patron, right? So this is going to take a reason. So I'm going to get my first patron. Ah, the War of the Road, Censored Edition. Alright, so this is the same color as that Secret Histories, right? So this one is just a book. It's not it's not written in a different language or anything. So I can just straight up read it. I don't need to do anything special. Alright. So much dread. I know I haven't addressed this thing over here. We'll get to it here in a second. So. Okay, these are nice. Ooh, Solo Chana. She's kind of special. We'll stick her off to the side for now. But, this is, like that, Course of the Heart where I got a free vitality. It gives you a free erudition. So, and erudition is good. I think that was actually from reading that book. Oh, no, it's not. Nope, I just happened to get it. So, Solo Chana is a weird patron. She doesn't really do a lot unless you're doing the Dancer DLC. But she's also at the same time one of the most useful people in the game. And the reason why she's useful is because you could talk to her about anything, which will allow you to hold things that have a countdown timer. It'll allow you to hold on to them for longer than you should be able to. So Solchana is very, 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 very useful. But she doesn't act like any of the other patrons. The other patrons, you do commissions for and some other things, but you do not. She's special. Now, I have these cultists, right? Well, acquaintances. They're not cultists yet. So, what you want to do is you want to talk about the Mirror of Glory, right? Mirror of Glory is my cult, with somebody you want to recruit into the cult. And this is a lantern aspected cult, right? So I need something that has a lantern aspect to it. Now, you notice that when you click on things, it lights up what you could put in there. So this needs lore. Now, you notice this trappings, right? It said it could be a tool or an influence or an ingredient. You'll notice that, like, a lot of stuff jumped up, right? Like, reason can be a trapping. Here's the thing, though. The trappings go away, as I recall. So you got to be careful about using like reason and passion and health for that. But the ceremony won't go away. So I just need some light. I think you just need 2 light, essentially, to recruit somebody into the cult, right? So now I'm going to get a new cultist. Right. And now I have Pope Clifton. Right? And he is now a lantern aspected, which is really good because lantern is my cult, right? My cult is the lantern cult. So the way you kind of come up with your own way of arranging things. The way I usually arrange things is I kind of keep the followers that are aspect to it next to that particular aspect of lore. So she's heart. I don't have any heart stuff yet. Don't know what he is. I mean, I know he's Grail because I've played this game 100 times, but you don't necessarily know what he is right off the bat. So I'm just going to leave him off to the side for now. But we'll go ahead and recruit him into the cult right now, because why not, right? So we'll get Saliba in here. Having some cultists. And once we get like a restlessness or something come up, I'm going to show you some of the ways that you start learning how to think about approaching problems in this game. So this guy is a lantern follower, right? And he has an aspect of lantern too, right? If you'll notice, the people that we've been recruiting, right, he's got a Grail aspect of 2. This one has a heart aspect of 2. Okay? The lore that we used has a lantern aspect of 2. Okay? Now, to upgrade followers to the next level, you need to have at least 6. And you could figure that out through experimentation. But I will show you a way that you can get that done pretty easily, especially if you're doing the lantern cult. So remember what we talked about, this exotic cravings, right? I'm not making much progress towards my goals, which is going to make me frustrated, and that gives me restlessness, right? Now, restlessness, we mentioned this earlier, it has a bunch of different aspects. It's an influence, right? So you learn to start paying attention to all these things because they're all useful. Restlessness is useful. Dread is useful. Fascination is useful in the right circumstances. So, for instance, Pope Clifton already has 2 lantern aspect, right? So if you look here, now we have 2 aspect of lantern. If we add our ceremony, that will also add another 2, so now it's at 4. And if we add this restlessness, right, that would add another. Oh, I think you need 8. But you see how this works? Like, these things add, right? So this gives me 6 aspect of lantern right here, which is not quite enough to promote this believer up higher. But that's how these things work, right? So, like, the restlessness is not necessarily a bad thing. You can use it to help you out. So if I had level 4 lantern lore, I could promote Pope right off the bat, right? Now, I don't quite have that, so we need more books. So let's get some more books. There's still more places to discover, too, so I probably won't keep going to Moorlands forever. I'm probably going to start exploring the rest of the places. So the 6 letters of necessity. This one does not require me to translate it. Usually, a lot of the low-level books don't. So, pretty much anything that's above like level 4 or 6 lore is going to require you to translate. But there's really low stuff just not. So we're going to read that. Notice that it was an orange book. That means that it's forge aspected. Okay, and we're going to go ahead and send some of our believers out to go find new stuff in the city. This one is a hireling, and this is a knock hireling. Knock hirelings are super useful, but not right now. Well, he might be useful for this one. I don't remember what you need for this one, actually. So here's a fun thing, and this is one of those things where you don't need to fully understand what you're doing to start exploring. And this is one thing I like in this game, right? So one of the beautiful things about hirelings is that they're disposable, right? You don't need to care about them, per se. So we're not going to, right? So I'm going to go ahead and hire this knock guy, right? He has 5 knock, which is useful, right? And then, once we have him hired, we're going to do our first vault. Now this, I'm intentionally not looking this stuff up the internet. You can look up what all the vaults are and what aspects you need to get through the vault and things like that. But we're going to do this like we don't know anything, right? So, we're going to say, hey, this is a vault, right? We found this by exploring one of these low-level secret histories lore, right? And the way vaults work is they're like little D&D adventure that you send your minions out on, right? So you go to a vault, you send out an expedition. I'm going to say, hey, I'm going to send this dude out and send some money with him. Any excess money they don't spend will come back to you, so don't worry too much about it. So I'm just going to send him out, and he's got 5 knock aspect. I'm going to say, hey, go. And this thing is going to kind of run on its own to a degree. You check up on it every 30 seconds or so just to see what's what with it. And I'll kind of pay extra attention so that I can explain the vault mechanics here, right? So now saying, hey, it's giving me an opportunity to add more stuff to this expedition if I want to. So I'll say, yeah, sure, I'll add some more money. Like I said, any money you put in there that doesn't get spent will come back to you, so don't worry about it too much if you're not like super broke. That's another patron right there. Another one of the slightly weird patrons. Keep finding more people. Okay, so now we have a problem, right? Monks. An order of guardians bound by oath and custom. They are too steadfast for the Grail seductions. We must defeat them with edge or bedazzle them with moth. Right? Now, we don't have edge. We have one dude with knock, and that's it, right? Now, you notice that as assistants, we can send a follower, or we can send money. Money doesn't help, right? So, all we can do is send a follower. Since we don't have somebody who can deal with this, we're going to lose, essentially, right? Our dude's going to get hurt, most likely, and we're going to fail the expedition. But that tells you something about this expedition. You'll say, okay, so I'm actually going to pretend like this is 1995, and I'm going to grab a pen, and I'm going to write down edge, and what was the other one? Or moth. Now, the way that the aspects in the vaults work is it goes by like set points. So if you have like 2 of that aspect, you have like a I think it's like a 30% chance of winning. So not very good. If you have 5 of that aspect, you have a 70% chance, and if you have 10 or more, you have a 90% chance of succeeding. So the more of the aspect you have, the better. And it doesn't scale linear. It scales at specific points. So if you have 4, it's 30%. If you have 5, it's 70%. So you want to have 5 or 10, basically. Early in the game, you want to have 5. Later in the game, you want to have 10. And it's cumulative, or it adds up too. So you can send more than one follower to make this happen, right? You don't have to just there, right? So now the monks are stronger and wiser than we had supposed, and now their blows have found a mark. Right? So the monks are beating up my poor hireling, but you know what? He's a hireling, and I'm a cult leader. It's not like I'm a good person, so what do I care? Alright. Hey, more people. Okay, so the expedition continues. So he got lucky. He actually didn't get hurt. But here's the thing, right? He can't get past the monks. So he's just going to keep butting his head into these monks until he gets hurt. Or until we run out of money. I'm not going to send any more money to that expedition. Because it's doomed to fail at this point, right? But that's okay. Because we know what's up. Ooh, I got a free contentment. I'm just going to feed into that. Neville, an acquaintance. Okay. Now, I know that Neville is a knock aspected person, just because I've played the game a lot, but you don't need to know that kind of stuff. You just kind of find out once you recruit them, right? So, and there's no reason not to recruit as many people as possible into your cult. The more you have, the easier everything is. Okay, so this was a scar, right? This is an interesting aspect of the game. So because he failed, sometimes when people fail in vaults, they will get hurt. He has wounds. Wounds are really interesting in this game because he's hurt, right? Now, if the season of sickness comes around and I have a wounded follower, they will die. There's nothing you can do about it. So that's not the next. You want to pay attention to the seasons when you have wounded followers. Like, really pay attention. You can fix a wounded follower by talking to them. Okay, and then paying for some money. So we'll go ahead and do that, just because I want to show you kind of how healing works in this game, right? So even though he's a temporary follower, he's just going to go away anyway. We're going to go and heal him up. And let's see, we failed this vault. So there's no real penalty for failing the vault necessarily. There are some curses and stuff in other vaults that can be pretty nasty. But this vault doesn't have a curse or anything, so these low-level vaults aren't too bad for the most part. So we're just waiting for this dude to get healed. Okay, so now he's been healed, but you'll notice that he has an edge aspect now, which he didn't have before, and he has a scar. So there's different types of scars, right? And depending on what kind of scar they got, it will give them actually bonus aspects. So scars actually make them stronger. But if they get 3 of the same type of scar, they die. So, like, if he gets another edge aspected scar, he would have, like, I think it gives him like 5 edge aspect at that point. But if he gets a third one of edge aspect, then he's just dead, right? So interesting, right? Now, I know I need edge and I need moth to move forward in that vault, right? So we're going to go ahead and try to find some people that can fit that bill. All right, so we're just going to send one of our people out to go looking. Go looking for people. We're also going to look for more cultists. Now, I'm usually hesitant to send my own cultists out there until I have, like, at least one of everything, so that I know that I can deal with situations as they arise, right? Because you can't get them back. So if your cultists die, like, there's no like replacement cultist for it. There's a set number of cultists that exist. So this guy has 3 moth, which isn't great. It's not a great follower, but, well, I mean, they're throwaways, right? So we'll go ahead and try it. We'll pick this dude up, and we'll send both of them in. So we know that they'll at least have a chance to win. They have some edge and some moth now. Now, they don't add up. Like, if you need edge or moth to complete a challenge, right? Having 2 edge and 3 moth does not add up to 5, which gives you 70%. You either have to have 5 edge or 5 moth. It's just going to use whichever one is higher. So, if these guys are both in here, then it's going to pick the moth one because it's higher. Now, you'll notice that I kind of shuffle them around, whoever is the leader position is going to get hurt first. I found that out over the course of playing this game a lot. So, so if somebody's going to get hurt, it's going to be the leader. So if you don't want that person to get hurt, don't put them in the front. I mean, they still might get hurt if more than one person gets hurt, but if you don't want them to get hurt quickly, then just be careful about it. Okay, so I just found a hanger-on. Now, this is it's a permanent follower, but they're not very useful. So they're kind of like a crap follower. They're still worth recruiting, but they don't do a whole lot. So we'll recruit this dude into the cult, and he can sit around. Now, the thing is, like, he's a forge aspected hanger-on, right? But they're so bad that they don't even get their own aspect until they've been upgraded at least one more time. So all hangers-on have just a little bit of edge. So if you get a bunch of hangers-on, you can actually kind of deal with edge-related stuff pretty easily, right? Because he's got one edge, but they suck at everything else. So you notice that this says a desperate deception, right? If I was at a 5 aspect of Moth, it would say something different. And if I was at 10, it would say something different, right? And this would change. So basically it's saying, hey, we're trying, but the odds are not great, right? And it didn't work, because we only had like a 30% chance to succeed, which, you know, it's understandable. Now, this isn't normally how I would run this, right? Because I've done this a bunch of times. I know that, you know, it's not worth it for me to do this. Oh, this dude got hurt again. And it looks like he got the same type of wound, I think. Interesting. So I might actually try to keep this guy around if I can. Can I? Oh no, I'm going to lose him. So unfortunately, he's just going to run out of time and he's going to disappear. Oh well. No big deal. So because he's a hireling, right, he's just going to vanish. The guy had a shitty employment with me. He just got wounded twice and then told him to piss off. I'm not a good employer, in case you were wondering. So the monks win again, right? So they're doing a good job of beating us down, which happens. So she got wounded. Uh-oh. Now this is interesting. So this will actually show you what I was talking about, right? So you see, instead of grabbing my health, it grabbed my injured follower, right? So my injured follower was grabbed, and she's just going to die. And there's nothing I can do about it at this point. So you have to be careful about that. And if it was if she was like one of my legit followers, it wasn't just a temporary one, they would just be dead, and I wouldn't be able to get them back. So you got to be careful. Oh, ooh. So I haven't been paying too much attention to my dread, right? This is going to be my 3rd dread. I'm going to go ahead and get a contentment going here, but I'm going to time it so that you can actually see what happens if you let too much dread build up. So, see how it turns red? Despair overwhelms me, right? This is the end. Or almost the end. Find contentment now, or it's over. Now, you'll notice that there's still dread here on the board, but it won't grab the dread. If it's already got 3, it won't grab dread, okay? It's looking for contentment. It'll grab a dread after it gets the contentment, but this contentment's going to come in, and it's going to fix this, right? But then it's going to grab one of these dreads right off the bat. So I'm actually in a pretty precarious position, so I'm going to get more opium. I need contentment badly, right? You notice I have a human corpse, too. And that the human corpses retain a bunch of different aspects, too. It actually still retains the wounded aspect, which I think is interesting. It's a wounded corpse. Winter still has reputation. This reputation is basically corpses act like notoriety. You know, when the hunters come around and they find dead bodies, it's kind of a red flag, right? So, yeah. So here's the thing, right? I know that it's going to grab one of these dreads here in a second. So, this is what I was talking about where you have to be careful about the math, and I'll show you what I mean. I know this math is going to work out well enough, but so I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this newest dread with my contentment, but this is going to grab this one. And that's going to put me in the danger zone again, right? Oh, look, contentment. That's convenient. But if I was in my last 60 seconds and I only had a little bit of time left to use my dream burb, then I could be screwed, right? So if it was like this, right, where it was red, and my dream burb was, I decided to try to get rid of a dread that was just out on the table like that, I would have no way to generate a contentment, and I could just die. Or for instance, if I was like, hey, I'm going to go ahead and heal this sickness right now. Well, if you're about to die to despair, might not be the most pressing thing to deal with, right? So, but we can go ahead and deal with this right now. Alright, and I think this is a decent time for me to pause this particular run. I don't want these videos to go super long. One thing that's hard about making a video kind of explaining how this game goes is that it's very random, right? The things that come up in this game are hard to predict. Every playthrough is a bit different. So I'll do my best to try to stay on track, but I know that I kind of ramble and bounce around. But hopefully I'm doing a good job of explaining how things work. But anyway, we'll come back here in a minute. Thanks.